Jedi Knights and Sith Lords, and welcome to the Star Wars Artifact Show. I'm Dominic, and as usual, I'm with my friend Eric, and I would like to apologize for the little delay. We ran into some technical difficulties. Basically, I lost electricity at my place, and I had to scramble to get everything back in place. Everything was going fine until like 10 minutes before we were supposed to get online. And
Yeah, I'd say, well, people, I mean, maybe people know or don't know, but we usually chat for about half an hour before going live to make sure everything's
yeah,
working and stuff like that. And even just now, as we went live when we finally got Dominic's video feed, the sound wasn't working, so I had to improvise real quick to get it going. But here we are, we're back, we're on, and
Murphy's
sorry
law, I
about that.
guess.
Yeah, yeah. So how's it been on your end besides your power loss?
Yeah, well, everything went well this week. I'm currently in the middle of shooting a little video on the artisanal kyber crystals. I'm sure that you're probably going to be interested because
Yeah, now I'm
you
a
just
fan.
got into that whole kyber crystal thing.
Yeah,
So you're going to see that those ones are quite special. So I'm looking forward to show you this video. And well, we had two great episodes this week. Uh, I'm really glad that those episodes came
yeah.
in and were so interesting for the Bad Batch. And yeah, I think that we should maybe just get into it, unless you have something interesting
Well, just a
to tell
small
us.
story actually. Like while you're talking about the crystals, I had to call Disney because I mean I don't know if you noticed, but when I did the video last week, with the reveal of what crystals we got from the ones I bought,
Mm-hmm.
uh, my holocron wasn't working properly. When I close the door, it doesn't register that it's closed. So it doesn't read
Okay.
that there's a kyber crystal in there. So it just always had the same voice. I messed around with it, kind of got it working a bit. So I called Disney and they're replacing it. There was a anyway. They were supposed to call me back, system issue on their end, but I finally spoke to someone today, and she told me we were talking about stuff. And anyway, very chatty, the girl, very nice, very magical, like their whole kind of spirit there. And she said that she gave me a little story about how someone called her because he bought
Mm-hmm.
a red kyber crystal, but he called for a return because when he opened it, it was black, and he thought it was a mistake. So
Okay.
she's like, actually, you got a rare crystal, but he was like, I think there's something wrong. It's black. He wasn't aware that you can get so I don't know what she didn't tell me what the resolution was for the issue, but it was just funny that she told me that the guy's calling and he's like almost calling to complain that he got something really special, but she explained it to him.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Okay.
so but I can imagine. I mean, I didn't know, right? So if I had been there and you just there's always people there to help you, and there was always someone standing in front of the holocrons with the crystals and stuff. And there's a girl that explained to me that the whole, I mean, you had explained it to me beforehand, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known why if there was the silver trim or the gold trim on it,
Yeah.
on the
True.
red one and stuff like that. So anyway, she explained it to me. And it was just a little funny story. And regardless, all that to say that also they're replacing my holocron. I get to keep this one, and give it to. I can donate it. I'm probably just gonna give it to my son to play with and see if she said if you could fix it, great. But she's like, if not, just give it to somebody to, someone will still appreciate it and not to bother sending it back. So great,
Mm.
great customer service when you have issues with Disney so far. So um, all is good on that end. So yeah, let's get started.
And one fun thing when you called for customer service, most of the time you don't even have to wait on the phone.
I didn't.
Like you,
The only thing I
yeah,
waited was that pre-recorded message at the beginning talking about how there could be delays or shipment could be a couple days, or I don't know. It said something along those lines, and then as soon as that was over, boom, someone got on the line. So,
yeah, because I called for the first time maybe early December, and because I was wondering if my Count Dooku was supposed to ship my Count Dooku saber, and uh, I know they said the only option you had to make it was like if you want English press one, Spanish press two,
oh, I didn't
and
get that. I think.
then first thing I knew somebody was there and I was almost caught off guard. I was waiting to hear your
Yeah,
call is important
yeah,
for
yeah.
us.
Some
Please
kind of
stand by
music
and blah, blah,
and
blah. And she said, "Hello, I may help you." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm
oh,
not ready."
she was super overzealous. The girl, like, oh, how's it going? Oh, great, and then we spoke a little bit, and I even asked her because like sometimes it was just like some stuff was loading, and I asked her where she was from because she said that she recognized some of the writing in my address that was French, and then she's like, we have French
mm,
in our area, and I'm like, she's got to be from New Orleans or something, and lo and behold,
okay,
I asked her, she goes, yeah, I'm in New Orleans, and I'm like, so I assume you work from home, and yeah, I guess their customer service get to work from home remote as well, which is kind of cool.
wow,
So, but yeah, I mean, they're all very much like that. When you call them at the end, they're like, have a magical day and like very upbeat. And who knows, maybe they get off the phone after a bad customer and start punching the walls. But like while they're on the phone with you, they're very, optimistic and positive and full of joy. So, she said, she even told me, she's like, thanks for your patience and
hmm,
being so patient for while they were going through this issue and stuff like that. And I could only assume that some people just call and tear them into them too, right? And I told them, I'm
yeah,
like, well, why would I be upset? I mean, you're not the one that sold me this. Like you didn't make it. Like even then, there's technical issues with anything you buy, and it's possible, and it's not their fault. So you won't get anywhere by screaming at people. Some people try to do that just to get a little extra, but I mean, it's not my type. So, but yeah,
true,
let's move on. We have a lot to get through. The scripts are pretty intense for these two small episodes.
yeah,
But my first impression, just to get off the bat, is that these were very political compared to the
true,
previous episodes, and I think would be for a much more mature audience. When we talk about the Clone Wars, season 1 and season 2, which James
hmm,
is actually going through right now. I think he's pretty much done season 2. I kept
okay,
telling him to be a little bit patient, and it's going to change. The tone is going to change. It's not going to be so much geared for little children anymore. And that's
hmm,
definitely what I realized in these two episodes. That like a kid that watched these two episodes would be probably a little bit bored by what was going on, but
yeah,
with someone that has a better understanding of maybe a little bit of politics and some of the comparisons that you can do with your own life and our own kind of
hmm,
politics, it was really interesting. So, but
yeah. I really loved it. I'm not too interested in politics in general, but I dig those episodes totally. I thought they were great, and obviously the title, is a bit revealing, but it really gave me vibes from season six, where there was the first clone conspiracy. The one when Fives Tops discovers that there are some chips inside the clone's brains, and he scrambles to try to let the word out, and he gets killed, and Fives takes the relay, and we all know that Darth Sidious, as was it Echo or Hunter, we said that he's always one step ahead. So
yeah, yeah. So we'll get to that. So this episode called "The Clone Conspiracy." Um, so at a Coruscant cantina, the clone trooper named is it Cade? Or, yeah,
yeah, Kate.
yeah. So Tells his comrade about his concerns with Vice Admiral Rampart's lies and their role in the destruction of Camino. His comrade CT0409, which is the nickname Slip that we're going to hear throughout the rest,
Mm-hmm.
it responds that they were just following orders. The clone trooper tells Slip that he has sent a message to Rampart urging him to tell the truth of the Imperial Senate before he does it himself. Obviously, that's uh, that's not going to bode over too well. Um, Cade leaves the cantina, but Slip follows and warning him that Rampart is too dangerous. I mean, he knows him, I guess, as well as we do from watching the show. Cade replies that they're not bad men, but that they're not bad men, but he needs his help. And Cade is shot by a sniper, and Slip dodges the blaster bolts and checks the fallen Cade's pulse, and finding him dead. Slip returns fire before fleeing on a green speeder bike into Coruscant's skylines, and other clone troopers secure the perimeter while the assassin retreats.
So, in the Imperial Senate, Gani Riduli of the Intergalactic Baking Clan talks about the recent cataclysmic storm on Camino and warns that they are vulnerable without the protection of new clone troopers. So, we get for the first time the cover up story of what happened on Camino at the end of season one. You know, they obviously couldn't tell the good people that they intentionally destroyed the Camino cloning facility. So we finally know what they told the population of what happened. And well, Gani Ridley speaks in favor of Rampart's defenseman recruitment bill, the bill that we heard being talked about in episode three, the Crosshair episode. There was two clone troopers talking at the cafeteria when he got breakfast, and they were
Oh
talking
yeah, yeah.
about that bill. So
Before they got up and
uh,
left.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
A Gotham senator seconds the motion, saying that the galaxy needs new conscript military that will represent the people. Senator Tinra Pamlo argues that they are more pressing matter and that the galaxy does not need new military. That's Tinra Pablo. Keep her in mind because I got a cool Easter egg about her a little bit later at the end of the show.
Okay.
So the Arcona responds that military forces are needed to quell insurgencies in the Mid Rim and Outer Rim territories.
So then Senator Bail Organa counters that the deployment of a grand army of the Republic was a result of the Emergency Powers Act, and that creating a military based on swearing loyalty goes against the fundamental principles of the Imperial Senate. The Gotham Senate disagrees, prompting Organa to ask Grand Vizier Maz. Geez, that's a mouthful, eh? Like,
Masamida,
yeah.
yeah.
Where the Emperor
Grand Vizier
Palpatine
Masamida.
where the Emperor Palpatine stands on the defense recruitment bill since he is absent from the Senate proceedings. And Amida responds that he trusts this delegation to look in after the interests of the galaxy. And Rio Chuchi asks why the clone troopers are not included within the defense recruitment bill, and the Gosam responds that the clone army is being gradually decommissioned since they can't cope with accelerated aging. It's kind of weird because when you see them, they don't look that much. I mean, no, there's not a lot of time, but like obviously the time that they grow into that adulthood, you don't really see like I don't know. Obviously,
Yeah,
it's an
true.
excuse, right? So Chuchi counters that the clone troopers are not droids who can't be shut down, but are soldiers who defended them.
You're right that maybe in the way that the clones are rendered that in that series, maybe they just should start, showing some signs of aging. Not drastically, but a little gray in the air. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
something that shows that yeah they are aging a little bit faster
yeah.
than
Like
normal
you said,
beings.
the way they're rendered and everything is probably difficult to kind of show wrinkles. Everyone's got a flat surface face, kind of, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
smooth skin.
yeah.
So there got some questions Chuchi's interest in the clone welfare. Chuchi criticized the Empire for its willingness to discard the clones in spite of their sacrifices. She questions plans to commission a new army, that's Chuchi, yeah, a new army without carrying for the old one. Admiral Rampart responds that there are provisions in place to take care for the clone troopers as they are being phased out. Chuchi asks if the clones get a say in their future, and Rampart offers to discuss the clone's welfare provisions if she will work with him. Organa submits a motion to table the vote on the defense recruitment bill, and well, Senator Pablo seconds the motion. So,
So
should I talk already about Pablo right now,
yeah,
or
yeah, might as well.
so? It took me a little while to put one and one together, but we saw Pablo in Rogue One as a live action character. She was there at the meeting on Yavin 4 where Ma De
Yeah.
Organa, Jyn Erso, and many other, important people for the newborn rebellion were arguing if they should uh, get involved in their first battle against the Empire. And she was there and she was afraid to suffer the retaliation, that her system would suffer the retaliation of the Empire should they get involved um, military wise. So I thought it was cool to see her in that episode. And fun fact is the same actress who portrayed her in live action that voiced the animated character. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I'm trying to find a way to show her. I've got the image, but you can see her like very quickly if you just Google Pamela Star Wars, like, you can see who it is, and now like I completely recognize her. That's fun. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was true. So, I was checking out some stuff and there was a link on her name. When I clicked it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's her. That was fun. So,
So after that, later Armida expresses concern about Rampart's inability to pass the defense recruitment bill into law.
hmm
So obviously, like, he's questioning his, I guess, what kind of influence or power he has. I guess his role and I guess his value to the empire. I guess at this point, Rampart is optimistic that they can overcome the opposition, but Amita is concerned that the senators will discover what truly happened on Camino, imperiling the legislation. And Rampart says he has provisions to deal with these obstacles and talks about appeasing Chuchi enough to get the bill passed before any of the provisions regarding the clones come into force. And Armida warns Rampart that there better not be any more surprises for his sake, and that threat definitely comes from a higher power. So
yeah, if you go back one, about what now, two images, if you look at Masnamida's staff, at the top of it, there's a Sistros Nevet little statue. And that statue was also seen in Palpatine's office. And she's one of the four sages of Duarte. Now, we're getting into deep lore.
that was like that one went like way over my head. Like a lot of this
Yeah,
stuff I can kind of like remember when you talk about this. Like forget it. It's
well, I think they don't sell them anymore at Galaxy's Edge, but they used to sell two sets of two statues from Palpatine's office.
really no, I don't remember
Guess
seeing
what?
that.
I have them. So
Oh,
they're in my
shocked.
office right now. They're right in front of my face while I'm talking to you guys. And I've already made a review on those statues in both French and English. So if you want to learn more about those four sages, I strongly recommend to check out the channel. And I'm almost 100% certain that you'll learn something new about about those characters. So
Nice.
that was a small parenthesis there. So Senator Chuchi meets with several clone troopers who are irate about their needs and being phased out. So she says she has come to understand their needs. Slip insists on remaining a soldier. Uh, Chucky mentions that clone troopers are phased out after they have served their full rotation. Chuchi proposes crafting a pension plan, but Slip says he prefers fighting insurgents. Chuchi asks the clones to consider what will happen if they are too old to fight, which totally makes sense
You know, what's funny is
since
like
they are.
we were just talking about, it and you could see gray in this guy's.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Okay, my bad.
yeah. No, I guess I it kind of came to me when I remembered about the what slide was coming up. So when a clone trooper expresses indifference, she tells them that they have to accept that their military service will eventually come to an end, and Chuchi tells them that they will get to choose their own lives. And she asks them how she can help ensure that the Rampart's bill meets their needs, and Chuchi's words have an effect on the clones who decide to speak with Chuchi.
And well, later, Stip questions Chuchi's interest in the clones' welfare, and Chuchi explains that the clones lack representation in the Senate, and that she can advocate on their behalf. Slip warns that Admiral Rampart cannot be entrusted, and that Kimino was not destroyed by a storm, but was attacked under Rampart's orders. Chuchi does not believe Slip when he tells her that, but he counters that he was stationed aboard Rampart's Venator class Star Destroyer. So that's pretty hard evidence, I guess, right there. He adds that Rampart ordered them to bombard Camino's cities. So obviously, it triggers some questions for Chuchi.
And then she questions Slip's accounts and stating that the Senate would know and that someone would come forward. And Slip responds that Rampart reassigned clones or arranged for their disappearances and deaths of dissidents. So I mean, we obviously saw that. Who was that? The name of the clone that was there again? That he ended
The
up
first one,
was
the
in.
one,
Yeah, and he shot him and he fell over the cliff there, or whatever, the mountain there.
yeah.
It was
Okay,
near the
it was
bridge.
oh
His
gosh,
name's
I
not
lost
coming to
it.
me, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, but yeah. So I mean, that we saw what was gonna happen if anyone had any kind
Mm-hmm.
of like doubts or kind of like regrets. So we saw very well what happens. Chuchi notices Slip is unwell, and Slip tells her to check his service record CT0409 before returning to the cantina. He tells Chuchi that she seems like one of the good ones and to be careful. And later, one of Chuchi's staffers tells her that Admiral Rampart is here to see him. Chuchi asks for CT0409's file, but the staff's file, but the staff says he's still searching for it.
So later that night, Slip goes to a back alley and contacts an unidentified individual through comlink. He asks for help to escape off-world, um, and he's starting to be a little paranoid, and rightfully so, because he just saw his good buddy Cade being shot, and now he knows that he's in some trouble as well. So uh, he needs to get out of there pretty quickly. And now the following day, Chuchi meets with Admiral Rampart and proposes not to, but a full pension plan for the clones. Rampart is initially skeptical of the idea due to the high costs and rising insurgencies, but he backs down when Chuchi threatens to withhold support for his defense recruitment bill. Rampart concedes and agrees to support her proposal to look after the welfare of clone troopers in return for their service during the Clone War.
Rampart notices that Chuchi is troubled, and when Chuchi asks how he survived the storm that devastated Camino, Rampart claims that he was taking part in an off world training exercise and feigns regret at not being able to intervene to save more lives. And when Rampart describes the events on Camino as a tragedy, Chuchi reminds him of the majority of the Caminoan, is that how we say
Camino, yeah.
it? Population perished. Rampart wants to move forward, prompting Chuchi to say that it is easier for some than others before taking leave. It's funny because like when I was looking at this image here of Slip, like you want to hide, just shave your beard. Like you
True.
guys all look alike. You shave your
Yeah,
beard, you're a completely different other person, right? So
totally. But I guess their chain codes would betray them eventually.
yeah,
So later that night, Chuchi and the bodyguard travel to a back street where they are met by a blue R2 series astromech droid. That was named R2C4. The droid leads them to Senator Organa, who remarks that she has caused a stir in the Senate the day before. Chuchi says that doing what is right is preferable to inaction, apathy, and ignorance. When Organa asks about her meeting with Rampart, Chuchi says that Rampart conceded to many of her requests for the clones. Organa warns her that Rampart is skilled at saying the right things in order to keep people from looking deeper. And he's pretty right about him.
yeah.
He's
Ch-
got that figured out.
Chuchi agrees, and Organa links the issue of clone rights to the rise number of insurgencies, with which frightens the Emperor. Organa voices suspicion about the timing of the Kaminoan storm and the defense recruitment bill. I mean, obviously, a little bit convenient. Organa also mentions that Tipoca City was submersible and had weathered thousands of storms. He questions why it sank. Chuchi tells him that a clone served aboard Rampart's vessel was the vessel when the admiral ordered the attack on Kaminoan cities. Organa asks about the whereabouts of the clone. Chuchi says he's in hiding and that her guards are searching for him. Organa warns that others may be searching for him as well.
Um, just to mention you, Eric, I don't have access to the chat, so keep a close eye if there's anything
Oh,
that comes up online.
There's Relevant Studios says good show, guys, and James who updated he's about halfway through season 2.
so of the Clone
All
Wars.
right,
So
well,
yeah, it's catching up. It's a lot. It's a
catching
lot
up.
to take in. You got 7 seasons and is what 20 some episodes each about. So
Yeah, and there's
yeah,
so much lore into
yeah,
those episodes as well. So uh, maybe we could advise James to sometime take a peek on Wikipedia when he's not sure about some things. You'll find everything he needs, and every episodes on Wikipedia have a little more information about what happens uh, during those episodes. So, and there are many hyperlinks
yeah.
in those texts. So,
And that's
if you want to know that particular
Wikipedia,
character,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Wikipedia, not
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. So it sounds very much the same, but I'll write it in the chat. So
Good idea. So, meanwhile, our good friend Rampart tasks a masked assassin with hunting down Slip and killing Chuchi if she gets in the way. So, he then orders the assassin to ensure that the killings cannot be traced back to him. Um, wow.
yeah,
Uh, at first, I thought that guy was Crosshair with a new mask
same.
because
That crossed
the
my
guy
mind.
is
Yeah,
yeah the guy is a sharpshooter and everything, but when we see him trying to kill the people,
yeah. You
that's what
realize he's not.
I told myself it's not him because he would have succeeded.
He wasted way too many bullets on nothing. So
Yeah, so I knew at that point that it wasn't him. So Slip navigates through the streets of Coruscant and heads to the rendezvous. He contacts his contact, who says he is in the way. So Chuchi, well, I guess it's on the way, but anything.
yeah,
Chuchi is one of her guards. Soon finds Slip.
Slip asks what she wants, and Chuchi seeks her help in exposing the truth. His help, I guess, in exposing the truth about the Admiral Rampart, and Slip tells Chuchi that he plans to leave with someone who can escape. And he asks Chuchi how she found him and if she was being followed. And Chuchi says that she can protect him and wants him to speak to the Senate. Slip warns that both their lives are in danger and that Rampart has already killed Cade. Um, And Chuchi tells Slip that Rampart's attack not only wiped out Tepoka City, but entire Kaminoan cities, and he can bring justice to the fallen.
Meanwhile, the assassin places Chuchi in the crosshairs of his blaster. Chuchi implores Slip to testify before the Senate. Her guard advises her to leave, and as Slip prepares to leave, he tells Chuchi that the evidence is in Rampart ship's command log, and right after he gives her that information, uh, he is hit by a blaster bolt. As the guard rush to protect Chuchi, a second guard is hit by a blaster bolt. The remaining guard tells Chuchi they have to flee.
And the two run at his signal, dodging the assassin. They flee through, and this is the part you were saying, like so many bullets went flying and nothing
Yeah,
was hitting. So
that's not crosshair.
yeah, exactly. They flee through a door, but the guard is wounded in the torso, and the assassin uses a grappling cable to pursue them inside the building, which turns out to be a factory. The guard distracts the assassin long enough for Chuchi to flee before being shot, and Chuchi flees deeper into the factory, but the assassin catches up with her.
And thankfully, before he can finish off Chuchi, he is stunned by a hooded figure who reveals himself as Captain Rex, our good old friend Captain Rex, whom she recognizes. I'll tell you why she recognizes him a little bit later. Chuchi asked what is going on, and Rex throws back the question before explaining that he had come to pick up Slip. Chuchi tells him that Slip and her guards have been killed, and she explains that Slip knew about what really happened on Camino and that she wanted him to testify.
So the two examine the assassin, who turns out to be a clone trooper. And Chuchi asks why a clone trooper would do such a thing, and Rex replies that he is not a clone trooper but intends to question him at a secure location. So Rex questions the assassin at Trace Martez's repair shop, but the assassin is silent. So that repair shop, James hasn't seen it yet, but that's where was it the first time we saw it? I guess in season 7 or
Yeah, it was the first
yeah.
time.
So it's
I
funny.
heard some people saying that it looked also a lot like the same garage where Five was killed by Commander Fox in the other clone conspiracy arc in the Clone Wars.
Really? Okay.
Maybe they just recycled the model from the computer. But
as soon as I saw this big hole, all I thought was about Ahsoka, and you know when you see her in the big scene there in season 7. So it's funny because like I thought that was a total filler, and it felt like a filler for that season 7, but now it's come back and it's has some more importance, even though we don't see the characters that we see. Just saying that they're away, I guess he offers. Sorry, he offers to let him go, but the clone replies that he knows that Rex won't let him go alive, and the clone described himself as a believer before killing himself with an electronic capsule in his mouth, and that was a weird comment, right? Like his expression, he goes, "I'm like a believer," like
yeah.
So I don't know. That was like it felt like a cult, or I don't know. It was just a little weird. And Chuchi watches in shock and horror at this point. So.
And his death is pretty similar to the Imperial officer's death in the Mandalorian season 2, when Mando and Bo-Katan tries to hijack a ship. You know, they successfully get to the bridge, and the officer there he bites something, and obviously it's not cyanide, but you know it's a shark tooth. I don't know how to call it, but shark tooth. So that's pretty horrifying to see, I guess. But so that was a cool episode, and it really set the table for what the following episode would bring. I mean, you know,
you wanted to touch though quickly on how she knew it was Rex.
Well, I'll keep that for the end.
Okay. Yeah, we gotta get rolling, I guess, with the second episode here.
So, if you're wondering who are the Martez sisters, as you said, we saw them in season 7.
Yeah.
But we also saw them in one episode of the Bad Batch, season one, when they were trying to recover a tactical droid Ed um, at some point. I think it was episode 4 or 5, and they kind of fight each other off in that old uh, industry or shop where they're destroying all the parts, and they fight for the Ed, and ultimately Hunter gives her the tactical droid Ed, saying that she will make better use of it, and
I have
they
to go
come back
back, and
empty-handed
it's
to Sid at the end of that episode.
so
So
far back in the rearview window at this point, but in the rearview mirror. But I just noticed your Coruscant, your very fitting T-shirt
I know.
with the theme today. So
I've been lucky the last several podcasts we did. The last time I had my Kashyyyk
yeah,
shirt on for Ganji's episode, and the one before, I don't know what it was. I think there was one with Camino, and we were talking about Camino, and yeah, I got lucky. So
that's one thing is
uh,
that at Galaxy's Edge, I would have wanted to buy more shirts and stuff, but a lot of it is rebel or resistance oriented, and
yeah,
not really my thing. So, but let's move on with the second part. I mean, this felt like a long episode, just cut in half, obviously,
hmm
to complete the story arc. So, this one called Truth and Consequences.
so the episode begins with the Bad Batch and Omega resting aboard the Marauder while Gonki walks around. It's the first time of the season we see Gonki, so it was good to see that he was doing fine, because at the end of the, the season one, he was a little bit banged up, so uh, Gonki's gonking around, so he's good. Um, Echo notices that Omega is meditating, and right away I was questioning myself about, are they preparing us
Yeah, being
to,
force
to her
sensitive or
being
something.
force sensitive?
I hope not.
I hope not too, but she doesn't feel the same way that Gangi told her he was feeling
Yeah,
when meditating. So it kind of reassured me, that saying, no, she's just that regular girl, and she'll find her place at some point in the
it
universe.
would just
And
be weird to me, like how the force would find something that was, I guess, manufactured, right? Like that's what
yeah,
it is, right? She's a clone. It's not like she's not natural, like a natural. I don't want to say she's not a natural being, but like it's just, I don't know. I'd find it weird that like it's, how we talk about Anakin, there was no father, all this stuff. Like just she's just like, I don't know. They made her in a tube or whatever, and all of a sudden now she's forced. It would have been a bit weird, but anyway, it
hmm
is what it is. Digress.
but yeah. So Echo doesn't feel comfortable meditating due to his experience as a prisoner of Wat Tambor on Skako Minor. Reference again to season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, when they found him.
Uh, yeah, and Wat Tambor is the head of the Techno Union, one of the separatist clans. You see him in episode 2, talking with Dooku. He has like trouble with his speech projector. He fixed it. It sounds like a little radio that is not correctly on the right station, or
Yeah.
um, so that's the guy. That's what Timber, and well, Echo was. That's why Echo looks like he does in the Bad Batch now. So he was mutilated by the Techno Union to spy on the clone tactics, basically. So the clones receive a transmission from Rex, who seeks their expertise. While Wrecker is excited, Hunter is concerned when he learns that they are to meet on Coruscant, where Rex will brief them about the mission.
And when Omega asks what is on Coruscant, Tech explains that the planet is the capital of the Galactic Empire. Echo adds that that the Empire believes they are dead, meaning like the Bad Batch, and they won't be
Mm-hmm.
looking for them. And Hunter says he hopes to keep it that way. Rex says that he needs them for a covert data extraction mission and will send them a flight plan to bypass Imperial security and coordinates for a safer landing zone.
So the batch travel aboard the Marauder to Coruscant. Omega gazes at the skyscrapers, while Hunter warns about, he tells everyone to be steady and to be ready for anything that could come up. They land the ship at Trace Marte's repair shop, where they are greeted by Rex and Senator Rio Chuchi. She thanks them for coming, and inside the repair ship, Rex shows them the corpse of Sniper X. I guess that's how we're gonna call him for now. Uh, Noting that his identifying markings have been removed, and for a rare time, we see Tech,
Puzzled.
being surprised by,
Yeah.
yeah. He said, "Wow, I didn't know that would be possible." So,
Yeah. I caught that
and
as well.
Rex,
It was weird. I mean, if you've kind of like puzzled him and like in question like how something could be done, that I mean obviously is
yeah,
I'm curious to see what's behind all that. So
yeah, because most of the time it's like Mister Know It All. I mean, yeah,
yeah, he's the one that
he's
would know how
very
to do it. No one
knowledgeable.
else
Yeah,
would have, right? So
yeah. So Rex explains that he had come to rescue Slip, but he was assassinated by that clone, who also tried to assassinate Chuchi.
when Echo asks why a clone would want to kill a senator, and Chuchi explains that Vice Admiral Rampart has been perpetuating the lie that Camino was devastated by a cataclysmic storm. It's funny now she's all like talking about like oh this happened, but she didn't even believe Slip at first when it happened. But now she's all like trying to convince others of what happened. So she says that Slip witnessed the truth and that she wanted him to testify, but Echo volunteers to testify since the Bad Batch survived the attack on Camino, but Hunter warns that the Imperial Senate won't believe them because they are deserters. I mean, that and probably best to keep them there. I guess their status still is dead in the eyes of the Empire as well, right? So
Hmm. Well, then Rex explains that they can prove Rampart's crimes by obtaining Slip's backup copy of his command log, which are stored in his Venator class Star Destroyer backup databanks. Rex tells the batch that the Star Destroyer is being retrofitted at the Imperial shipyard on Coruscant. Pretty convenient, which is heavily guarded. Rex says he knows a way inside the shipyard.
Chuchi has a Rampart's Imperial Defense recruitment bill is being debated the following day, and that they must prove his crimes before the vote passes. Chuchi intends to stall the bill, and Rex warns that Chuchi is in danger, prompting her to say that she must be on the right track. Omega volunteers to accompany her, and Chuchi says that people cannot enter the Senate district without security clearance. Tech says that will not be a problem, while Hunter tells the clones to go to work.
Yeah, so we really get the feeling that time is against them and they need to act pretty quickly, and it kind of prevents them for making maybe a better strategy to infiltrate the Star Destroyer. So they gotta move and they gotta move fast. So while walking through the hallways of the Imperial Senate with Chuchi and her bodyguards, Omega asks what a senator does, which is pretty cool because knowing that that show is aimed for young kids and well, kids in general, so it's a way of teaching those young people what a senator does, and the importance of being represented at the Senate, no matter what you do or what you are. So Chuchi explains that senators have, they need to serve the galaxy and act as the voice of the people. They encounter Admiral Rampart, who says he is making preparations for tomorrow's vote. Omega is unnerved by Rampart, who walks past the group. He speaks with Grand Vizier Masamira, who asks if Chuchi will be a problem. Rampart reassures Amira that Chuchi will not cause any more delays to the bill.
So Gigi shows Omega the Galactic Senate chamber, explaining that this is where the Senate discusses legislation and discusses the future of the galaxy. Omega is mesmerized. Chuchi explains that each pod belongs to each of the senators and delegates. And when Omega asks if there is one for the clones, Chuchi explains that the clones never have had representation, since some view the clones as military assets. And Chuchi says that she's working on ensuring that the clones have the same right as any galactic citizen, and it's rather unfortunate. It's kind of disturbing that they don't even
Yeah.
see them as people. They're just like basically slaves, or like not even considered human, I guess. Or I mean, like I said, like an actual person. They're just like pawns in a game, and disposable. When they don't need them, that's the end of that. And so
And Omega's face shows her deception or sadness as well. So
well, okay, of course,
uh,
being a clone herself, right? It's just
mm,
it just
rightfully so.
completely
Yeah.
devalues her, right? And she
Hmm.
has aspirations to be a part of the world, and now that she's no longer on Camino, now she's like kind of getting the impression that she'll never be perceived as a person, right? So
Yeah.
it's tough.
Um, all right. So I took my time to start speaking because I'm making parallels with people with disabilities in real life because we are struggling so much to be considered as full-fledged citizens that it's something that I'm experiencing on a weekly or monthly basis.
Yeah,
Some people wanting to make decisions for people like me. So,
yeah.
anyways, that's another debate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had a bit of a talk, and I've heard a few things being at your house a couple times in conversations, and the things that you fought for, and set precedents, I guess, for certain things for people that are gonna
Hmm.
follow. So, maybe we could talk about that another time for sure. It would be very
Yeah,
interesting.
we
I
could
think people would be.
maybe you make a Star Wars versus real life episode at some point.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So Senator Bail Organa as a Stromec droid R2C4 pops by with a message, and Chuchi asks Omega if she can keep a secret. Uh, Meanwhile, Rampart gives a speech arguing that the galaxy needs. Well, it's a speech on speakerphones, right? So there's like some sort of propaganda being done to brainwash maybe the citizen and make them more compliant to the bill he's trying to get voted. So, uh, and meanwhile, Omega accompanies Chuchi during a meeting with Organa as they stroll through a hallway. Chuchi briefs Organa about the failed assassination attempt, leading to Organa to surmise that Rampart is very resourceful. So,
So it's funny because it's just like real politics. Like there's like
mhm,
lobbying and kind of like um, you know, I guess trying to influence votes and campaigning, I guess, right? And for so
true.
it's all stuff that is very real, and I guess you can. It's an introduction for kids if they do have the interest in paying attention to what's going on. Um, so Chuchi explains that her associates are working on obtaining information proving Rampart's role in the events at Camino, and Organa advises Chuchi to speak with the Caminoan Senator Haley Bertoni, but
Mhm.
warns that her support may not be forthcoming. Organa explains that she served on the Defense Finance Committee before being removed from office, and Organa advises Chuchi to follow the money, since they always leave a trail. That was a very interesting comment at the end, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm binge watching Jack Ryan on Prime, and that line is used quite a few times by the main character. He sometimes he's being asked, "Well, how did you come to those conclusions?" And Ryan says, "Well, I'm just following the money."
Well, even as
So
far as Andor, going back to Andor, right? Like her
true.
concern was that they would trace the money
Yeah.
and find her what she's been up to. So like, that money
Mhm.
is deadly if you're not careful. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And well, Omega is present in Senator Chuchi's senatorial residence when she hosts Senator Bertoni, which we also saw in the Clone Wars. Um so a lot of coming back recurring characters from uh, those uh, those episodes coming back. Um, and well, she asked, if the money could be traced to Rampart, and well, she says, yeah. The asking the question is saying the answer.
Yeah.
So Bertoni derides Chuchi as a fool and warns about the danger of prying into sensitive matters. Uh, so when Chuchi mentions the Kaminoan people, Bertoni says that most of her people are gone and that she is not concerned with the Kaminoan diaspora scattered across the galaxy. So basically, she doesn't care.
Yeah. When Omega asks why she's not concerned about the Kaminoan cataclysm, she asks why a child like her would care, and Omega responds that she's a clone and that Kamino was her home. And it's funny, Bertoni gave like a little bit of a look right when she said that.
Mm-hmm.
She says that she saw the Empire destroy everything and that she's angry about what they did. And Omega emphasizes that it was not right. Bertoni says that she suspected that an attack was imminent, dismissing Prime Minister Lama Su as arrogant in his belief that the clones were a necessity to the Empire.
Yeah, well, she's not wrong because
Yeah.
that's what really caused Lamassu's demise. So, anyways, Bertoni laments that none of them are. When Chuchi asks if Admiral Rampart can be blamed for everything, she kind of said it's going to be pretty tough to do so. But Chuchi pleads with Bertoni to testify at the Senate, but the Kaminoan senator says that her words won't matter since she will need concrete proof, basically. So Chuchi responds that she needs both and that she is running out of time.
So, meanwhile, the other members of the Bad Batch and Rex infiltrate Rampart's Star Destroyer, and they climb up a ladder past the generator, and Hunter gets Wrecker to cut through the hatch. Hunter chats with Rex, who tells him that more of their brothers are waking up to what has been done, and we've seen that in previous episodes more and more. That like it's
Mhm.
people are growing wise to it. Rex is determined to reach out to the other clones and says that troopers who know too much are a liability to the Galactic Empire. And Rex says that he's working with a few contacts, but they are spread pretty thin with limited help. Curious to know who his other contacts are.
Yeah. So after Wrecker encounters Ray Shields, Rex manages to improvise and disable the shields. They climb up the manhole and hide under a walkway. Um, they are several clone troopers and droids moving around them. So the clone hide under a repulsor lift platform. Tech manages to hack into that platform and commandeers the platform, alarming its droid pilots. Tech gets the speeder to drop them on the top of the Venator, and the clones infiltrate the ship through a hatch.
After studying several clone troopers, the Bad Batch and Rex enter the command bridge, and Tech discovers that the energy conduits are offline and that the only way to retrieve the data is to reroute the power, which could trigger a security breach. With time running out, the clones get to work and reactivate the bridge area, and their presence is detected by other Imperial clones who realize that there are intruders.
So they're staying true to themselves using their blasters on
On
stunt mode.
stun.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool for them. And the other one are firing live ammo at them, and it's kind of it must be frustrating at some point
Yeah.
for the match, but they're doing the right thing. The clone sentries proceed toward the bridge, finding unconscious comrades in the committee room. Record jams the door while Tech retrieves the copied files. Meanwhile, Rex and the rest of the Bad Batch engage in a gun battle with sentries after they break down the door. Sentries request reinforcement, and they get it in the form of V-wing starfighters. Hunter gets the clones to man the ship's turbo laser cannons, which downs several starfighter. After Tech completes the data transfer, the batch activates Plan 5, which involves firing up the Star Destroyer's engines.
So here's the thing that I've been waiting to say because I noticed it immediately. Because what's the
Mm-hmm.
inconsistency between this and I'm pretty sure these people didn't survive. So it's like
Ah,
they weren't stunning these ships; they were destroying those
true.
ships, and these people are gonna die. So it's like it was, and it's I just thought because every time I see this done, you hear that kind of noise.
Yeah,
Like
true.
they're not dying. You have that famous scene
Mm-hmm.
from episode 4 when Leia gets
4.
zapped with it, and
Mm-hmm.
so you're like, okay, so they have that sympathy. It's not their fault or whatever. That they're brothers and all this stuff. But when it came to this, I'm like, wow, they're just blasted. You had just seen them stun them, and then you just see them
Mm-hmm.
blasting these guys out of the air, right? So I mean, there's no stun on those,
Yeah,
but I mean, still, I
turbo
just
laser
thought, yeah,
cannons.
it
Yeah.
was it was a little weird to me that I just 1 second I'm thinking, oh yeah, shoot, they're only gonna stun them, and then like literally 30 seconds later they're blasting these guys out of the air. So
Yeah.
just an
Go back
observation.
just one picture. No, another one. Sorry. Yeah, that one. If you notice carefully, they haven't found the time to replace the Republic logo to from with the
Here,
Empire logo.
that's the
Yeah,
that's the Empire logo, isn't it?
it's the Empire logo.
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was the Republic logo. Okay,
Let's
so
see
they
if
did
I
it.
can.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
okay.
Um,
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
so while clone troopers retreat from the moving structure, the Bad Batch and Rex fly their way through the clone sentries and head towards the corridors. Due to the movement of the engines, the Star Destroyer tilts and forward and causing the frontal support clamp collapse. The Bad Batch and Rex escape in an escape pod, which lands in the shipyard, and the infiltrators escape down a manhole as clone troopers and speeders swarm the site.
Meanwhile, at the Imperial Senate, Admiral Rampart argues that there is no need to delay the vote on the Imperial Defense Recruitment Bill, since Chuchi's concerns about clone troopers' welfare has been addressed. Chuchi disagrees and says that they cannot take his word since he has given them a reason not to do so. She and Bertoni take their pod to the middle of the podium while Rampart asks what the reason is.
Chuchi responds that Bertoni is willing to testify that Rampart has diverted Kaminoan funds without Senate approval, and Rampart dismisses Bertoni as a disgraced senator, and Chuchi proposes a formal investigation into the funds. Rampart, you can see he's getting a little bit nervous right at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Echo passes outside. Echo passes a copy of the file to Omega, and meanwhile, Rampart responds that he is not at liberty to disclose the classified military operations, and he claims that the funds were redistributed. And Chuchi responds that his actions began months before the events of Tepoka City, and suggests that he was planning for it.
So when Rampart asks what she is talking about, Chuchi accuses him of intentionally destroying the Kaminoan cloning facilities, and Chuchi's allegations are met by gasps and murmurs. Senator Organa watches the proceedings grimly. Rampart denies the accusations as baseless, while Bertoni asks Chuchi for the proof that she speaks of. Rampart calls for the vote on the defense recruitment bill to be proceed. Intergalactic Banking Clan Senator Gani Riduli calls for Chuchi to be removed from the Senate proceedings and censored for misconduct. The unidentified Commerce Guild senator seconds the motion.
This guy was getting on my nerves, to be honest. He was like kind of like a bit of a troll every once in a while, going in and cheering for his buddy there. So I don't know if he's got a deeper connection, but like he obviously seemed to be fully on board with
Yeah,
Rampart. So
he's an Ishitid who replaced the previous senator during another arc in the Clone Wars when when Palpatine gained control of the banking clan. So
okay. At that point, Omega presents a data package to Senator Organa, who detaches his pod and presents the recording to Chuchi. Chuchi presents the recovered command log from Admiral Rampart's Venator, which she states proves that his own ship caused the destruction of Tipoca City. She plays a recording of Rampart's Venators bombarding Tipoca City, and Omega and Organa watch the vindication, while the other senators react to the shock and outrage.
and then we hear an alarm sounding in the Senate. The floor opens, and we see Emperor Palpatine himself with his buddy Mazameda rise on the central pod to address the Senate. Amida addresses the Senate, commending Chuchi and condemning Rampart for his unprovoked and cowardly attack on Camino. So,
Change in tone after the whole time. Is she going to be a problem? Is she going to be a problem? I was like, oh yeah, good job.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for helping. Amida claims that Rampart acted to fulfill his own selfish goals and orders several Imperial shock troopers to arrest him for war crimes. Rampart protests that he was just following orders as shock troopers handcuff him.
Emperor Palpatine says he's deeply troubled by the revelations and
Yeah, right.
commends Chuchi for exposing a rogue element within their ranks. Palpatine regrets that many lives have been lost. And Jesus, it's even hard to say this like with a serious face, and promises that Rampart will be punished for his treachery. Palpatine also points out that Rampart did not act alone, and that the clones under his command blindly followed his orders. So wow, so talk about way to twist those words around. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
still, we know where this is going. And Palpatine used the revelations of the Kaminoan atrocities to make an impassioned speech arguing for this passage of the Defense Recruitment Bill into law in the name of peace and stability. So funny, like he called an audible, like a quarterback seeing where the play was going. He saw the defense was lined up, and he called, and he was still able to get past him. And he adds that this new era will be heralded by the Imperial Stormtrooper. And Omega, Chuchi, and Organa watch with concern.
And if I have one criticism to make that on those two episodes, is that we're probably not gonna have a follow up on Rampart. He's just gonna be dismissed, and I don't think we're gonna see him again before the end of season 2. And I would have liked an investigation on Rampart. He's thinking he could bring down Tarkin, who literally told him to destroy Tipoca City on
Yeah.
Camino. And who does Tarkin gets his orders from? Well, the man himself,
Yeah.
Palpy. So they could go up the channel and discover that Palpatine was behind the whole thing. But obviously it's not gonna happen because he stays in power for the original trilogy. So
Yeah, but I mean, like Amita
uh,
said, it was he made a point of saying that Rampart acted to fulfill his own selfish goals, right? So like
yeah,
they covered their ground, or their tracks by doing that, I guess, or making those claims, and people are just gonna be happy that he's gone, I guess.
and I'm sure any form of communications have already been deleted
Yeah.
on that matter, and they deleted their browser's history and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, following the Senate vote, Rex laments that the Emperor always was several steps ahead of them during the Clone Wars. At and that they played right into his hands once more. So Omega, being the innocent child that she is, she's kind of perplexed that they failed despite telling the truth. Hunter responds that Palpatine twisted the truth to his own advantage, and Rex agrees that Palpatine wanted them to implicate Rampart, in order to secure Senate approval for his Stormtrooper program. Echo laments that the fate of the clones is sealed as a result of their actions.
Chuchi vows to continue to fight for the clones and to have the same rights as every citizen. At this point, it seems like you know, quite the uphill battle. And kneeling to face Omega, she promises not to give up. And Hunter tells Rex to contact him if he needs anything. And Rex decides to stay behind, promoting Hunter. And Wrecker and Tech to wish him farewell and good luck. Omega is surprised that Echo is not coming with the rest of the batch. Echo explains that he's going with Rex because the clones will need their help more than ever, and Omega is upset, but Echo promises that he will return and tells Omega to keep up with her training. And Echo hugs a tearful Omega before Omega joins the rest of the Bad Batch aboard the Marauder. And while Echo watches with Rex and Chuchi, Omega hugs her Tuga doll, Lula, and that's pretty much the where it ends. So
Yeah.
it was
So
a very
pretty
touching
heartbreaking
ending. Yeah,
for Omega. Yeah. So she's sad of losing one of her good friends and maybe one of her four father figures. So
yeah.
uh, yeah, she's heartbroken, but I remain hopeful that we'll see Echo again at some point, perhaps even before the end of season two. So
Yeah, I don't doubt
maybe
that.
for the season finale, I guess. So
Yeah,
that would be fun. So I noted a few things while rewatching the show for the second time, and I noticed that the cantina where episode one begins, it's called 79s, and it's the same cantina we saw in the Clone Conspiracy arc from the Clone Wars season six. At some point, Fives uh, goes into that cantina, and he has to run away from shock troopers at some point. So it's weird that both conspiracy arcs feature the same bar or the same place on Coruscant. But I
is
thought it
that
was
those weird additional episodes that I guess didn't feel like they really fit?
yeah.
Yeah,
It was called the Lost Missions.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
So it's in that season. So season six.
Before season 7 came and really closed the loop properly, I guess. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because things were left out open after season
Mm.
season six, and we got a proper closure for the Clone Wars with Order 66 and
I was
what we
happy
saw with Ahsoka.
in the episode that you finally, like, I always had the question of like where did that transition from clone to stormtrooper happen, and we got to see,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, in more politically how it happened. I guess maybe we'll see the transition more coming up in the next episodes, but obviously there's
Yeah.
I guess you could make episodes on the training of the stormtroopers and stuff like that, but obviously they're training. People will always make a joke that they're not the soldiers that the clones wore, and
No.
for Urban, probably much cheaper labor for them to have them, and we know the story of like whether it be Finn or other stormtroopers are just kind of like picked
Mm-hmm.
from their families, but I wondered if they're gonna get into that, show clips of like them taking people from their families or anything. So curious to see how that's going to play out in the future, or if that's going to be like another. I mean, we eventually connect to Rebels at one point, but like there's still quite a big gap between those two, right? So
Mm-hmm. Well, we got a little preview in season one when they went to rescue Gregor on a base, and we saw that the Clone Commandos were training conscripts, and they had like a transitional helmet, uh, but it was briefly touched. So
yeah,
I'm sure that things are gonna ramp up a little bit before the end of season two, and we're gonna get a maybe a little revolt from the clones
Yeah.
who might get tired of being treated the way they are, I guess. So, and I wanted to talk about Ryo Chuchi, our hero senator in this arc. Um, she was, but yeah, she was a senator from Pantora, and she was part of some arcs in the Clone Wars as well. We saw her in the arc where they need to fight uh, creatures on the Arctic planet, and Rex and Ahsoka and Anakin are with her, and they need to make peace between two different populations to to get them involved in the Republic. So uh, it was cool to see her again. I mean, I think it was fun, and well, I guess that's all for the notes because I cheated and I gave some info between
During the other ones.
some stuff, but
That's good. We're running a little bit short on time anyway, so why don't you just
yeah,
let us know what's going on for the review tomorrow?
yeah. So tomorrow's review it will be the last of the Galactic Star Cruiser month. So I'll be reviewing all sorts of different merchandise that I had purchased by a good friend of mine when he got his trip on the Star Cruiser. So they're like I don't know half a dozen things that I'm gonna make like a quick reviews of. There's the training shields, the glasses they sell on the Star Cruiser, the exclusive Sabak deck they have over there,
They
the
have an
Sabak
exclusive
chipset.
deck there, because I mean I saw this
Yeah,
the deck pretty much all over the place. It seemed like it was something new, but I guess it's not the same one that they have there.
no, if you look next to my elbow on screen, you see the Cantono,
Yeah.
and on each side there are two different
Oh,
Sabak
okay.
deck. And the one on the bottom right corner of the screen, that's the exclusive one. The cards are shinier, the more luxurious, and the dice are actually made of real metal. So
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. And there's a Sabak chipset that I also bought, made of real metal as well. Pretty expensive chipset, by the way, because you only get some chips for one person, and it costs you like $80 to get
Jeez.
that chipset. So it's pretty
Yeah.
expensive. And some other few less expensive goodies that I also got, and I want to reveal everything. But there's also a pin that is you need to to tell something to the cashier, because it's not exposed on a rack in the middle of the gift shop. So it's pretty. You gotta know that this pin exists, and then you discreetly tell about it to the cashier, and then you're able
Kind of like the pins that I
to
got
get
that
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 are limited edition. I had to get those. Those were not actually up on the rack as well. The ones that I got you at Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
yeah, those were as well. And I did find the other day. I ended up finding your other pin there
Ah,
for.
my Savage Workshop pin.
Yeah, yeah. So it was on the kitchen table with the other one with the Elliot's pin. I look real quick if I could find those other pins, and I don't think we showed them last time.
No, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got your Christmas decorations, but that will let you reveal it. But yeah,
So these pins here with the super nice pins, by the way.
Yeah, they're cool, and they have like I think it's gonna be pin number 5 and 6 from that series. They're not really numbered, but uh, those are limited edition pins that I collect. I just discovered well, not discovered, but realized before Christmas that I spoke to you guys of my addiction to Star Wars bugs, No, I think I'm gonna have to make another video about addiction number two, which
The
is
pins.
pins. Yeah, because you were there at my birdie bash last summer, and you saw the really big, expensive pin I bought last
Yeah.
summer from.
Jeez.
Uh,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
crazy.
it's almost as big as half of my face, so it's really big, and it was for the 45th anniversary of New Hope, and I just fell in love with it. It ended up costing me 75 US dollars with the shipping and the custom fees
Yeah.
and the exchange rate to Canadian dollars. It almost ended up costing me $110 to get everything, to get that pin to my place. So that's when I started to realize that maybe I'm a real pin collector. So
Well, it's
you
funny
know,
seeing whenever, like in collecting for anything, it's
It's hard, and especially like I had gone down the rabbit hole of the 1/6 scale figurines, and
hmm
you know, a lot of you don't want to limit yourself. Everything looks nice, everything looks cool, but you have to like find something and say, well, okay, I'm going with Marvel, or I'm going with Disney. I
yeah,
mean, with Star Wars, and like, because they all look nice, they all look great, but at the price it costs, you have to kind of like set a goal for yourself and say, these are the ones I'm going to concentrate on, dabble every once in a while in something else, but like it's otherwise it never ends, right? So
yeah, it's so true.
yeah,
And I feel you with the 1/6 figurines because I bought a C3PO and R2D2 from the sideshow, and I got them really nicely displayed. And the intention was to even eventually purchase, all the heroes,
yeah,
Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, and I even had a speeder bike uh, at the 1/6 scale at some point, and I wanted to put on that bike Luke and Leia with their Andor poncho,
yeah. That's like a fifteen
and
hundred dollar project right there. It's like it's crazy.
that's it.
Yeah,
So
and the conversion is really killing us right now. We're paying an extra 30% off what you see online.
yeah,
Like, shipping is just is so disappointing to see that, like, US free shipping, free shipping, free shipping. Canada, you're looking at about $40 US plus your customs once it cross. It never ends. So like
yeah,
you buy a figurine that's like 249, 299 US, you end up paying over $500 for it, and it's just crazy. So it's just when I first started with the 1/6, it was like the dollar was on par. It was a lot more manageable,
mm-hmm.
and
Oh yeah,
now it's just absolutely ridiculous. So it's just unfortunate, but I'd rather get a bunch of little small things at this point, like the
yeah,
Cantino, like, and all that stuff. Like I like when I went to Disney, I was able to ship that back, and if I want to collect kyber crystals or even the lightsabers, yes, it was 169 US, but like
mm-hmm.
that's a lot more reasonable than like when you're buying these Black Series or whatever, like the versions of the lightsabers here, right? So,
Yeah. In Canada, they're $400,
yeah, it's
and you need to
insane.
pay taxes
Yeah,
and
yeah,
shipping. So
yeah. So anyway, we digress. But I mean, I think that's it. I think next week we were looking at doing something a little bit different. So we've got plans coming up, but I think we're going to stick to the gaming. I think follow up with our
yeah,
Fallen
that's it.
Order.
Yeah, yeah. We'll continue playing Fallen Order.
Yeah,
So in case you haven't watched part one, you can see it on the Star Wars Artifact channel. And at the end of that specific video, we were asking you guys to tell us if you wished us to go to, was it Dathomir
Dathomir.
and,
Yeah.
or what's the other choice? Kashyyyk?
Uh, no, it's not Kashyyyk. It's
No, it's the planet of the
is it?
Zepho, right?
Yeah, Zepho. Yeah, it's Zepho or Dathomir. So Dathomir basically doesn't really advance the story. Um, what it does is it does allow you to get the double-sided saber early. So the only thing is that you still haven't developed some of your powers yet. So
It
what
might be tougher to.
yeah, but what we had also discussed is that, like, trying to move forward with this the walkthrough or the gameplay, we're not going to concentrate so much on trying to collect all the
The
different
goodies.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and we're not, well, I mean, so much like all the skins and that you can get and all the different things, all those little containers that like, you know, you got to search every little corner of every little base. So we're not going to worry about
Yeah.
that. We're going to try to really just show the story and have that move along. And I think Dathomir, as cool as it is, won't advance the story quickly, but you can always go back to it whenever you want, right? So
So, well, let us know on that video if you want us to go to Datamir or see the Zepho. So, and the place that gets the most votes will end up being the place we visit first. So just write down in the comments of that video the name of the planet, and we'll go there. We'll let you decide the fate of our stream. So yeah, I guess that's it.
yeah,
So
don't forget to
well,
like and subscribe.
true.
If you like it and if you want us to continue, there is a few things in the works that we're not disclosing right now, but a couple of different things that are really cool that are coming down the pipeline, and I think it'll change the vibe of the whole channel as well. So
Yeah, and the only reason we're not telling you guys right now is that because we're waiting for final answers before we can break down the news. But everything if everything goes as foresee as we foresee, what would Emperor Palpatine say? Everything
yeah,
is going as I have foreseen.
yeah, something like that.
So if everything is going the Palpatine way, we'll call it that way.
Yeah,
If everything goes the Palpatine way, well, we'll have some at least two very important news to tell you guys. So
from now till the end of the month. So in the next following weeks, I would say.
yeah, make sure to ring to hit that bell for notifications, and if you don't want to miss those streams, we could break that news as soon as next week or in 2 or 3 weeks. So but the cool stuff is coming your way. So hopefully I will be able to let you guys know uh, next stream if that would be fun. So
Yep.
well, thank you guys for sticking with us until the end, and may the force be with you always.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.